Hi and welcome back to a Fantasy Premier League video. It's been a while. I've done a few live streams, but now it is time to get videos back up on the channel. And as you can see, there'll be a new look if you look around here, but also a new setup. So I will start videos with some interesting stats and facts that I've found throughout the game week before moving on to a game week review with the players and the matches before looking forward to the next game week, the transfers of players and the captaincy options as well. So we're going to get straight into it. So the stats that we have come across this week. Player of the week, of course, for this game week must be Anthony Martial. 3 goals, but here's the thing. He was absolutely clinical. He scored 3 goals in just 4 goal attempts. So obviously that is a 75% conversion rate. He had an attempt every 20 minutes, but he was still sharp enough to bag a hat-trick. Still worth bringing into your team for that point potential. Obviously, compared to a striker, he gets an additional point for the goal, also an extra point for a clean sheet, and he's cheaper than Rashford, so possibly the best option. Him or Bruno are probably the best 2 options right now. And of course, the United fixtures are looking really good going forward too. Martial and Mo Salah were the top players for goal attempts, big chances and touches in the opposition penalty area. The next one we're going to be looking at is Dominic Calvert-Lewin Dcl. Most shots this week with 7, 4 of those coming on target. He's also second and third for final third touches. So he's second for that one and just behind Marcus Rashford. Very unlucky, I think, to get 2 blanks in the last 2 games, and he's still really worth his price. I was thinking of getting rid of him this week to bring in Martial. However, for his price point, the player that did go out was, I think, the right option here. I still think he's going to get some goals before the end of this season. Mane, most chances created this game week with 5. Likely why he bagged that extra bonus point. Interesting though, Paul Pogba was the joint second most here with 4 chances created. Grealish was the other second player there, despite the Villa captain looking a lot deeper in his positioning over the last few games. And most passes done this game week was by the centre-back pairing of Van Dijk and Gomez, which I thought was quite an interesting little fact there. Over the last 2 games then, so Arsenal, Bournemouth and Sheffield United, the latter, Sheffield United playing 3 games, have the joint second least amount of goal attempts with 16. Palace are only actually last with 10 goal attempts, but let's not forget that one of those matches was against Liverpool away. There's a theme with these teams though at the moment. So Sheffield United have conceded the most amount of chances with 20, but they have played 1 more game. So 17 on shots on target has been given up by Arsenal, 13 by Norwich and 10 by West Ham. These teams are also top for defensive tackles lost. So all 4 of these defenses are looking incredibly shaky, probably all season, but especially now. You've got to be really attacking that Arsenal defence, Norwich defence, West Ham defence, and maybe even that, dare we say, Sheffield United defence. And speaking of defences, now here's the thing that is actually leaning me towards a certain captaincy option this week. Most teams concede chances equally down the right side and the left side. There's a few in it, but they're usually generally quite close. Not the case with Aston Villa. They have allowed 24 crosses down their right-hand side, but a whopping 51 chances or opportunities down their left-hand side, with 16 of those being registered as a chance for the opposition. So perhaps we know Aston Villa are not the strongest team. In fact, they're one of the weakest in the league. So if you're also looking to get some points, maybe get attacking that Aston Villa left-back slot, which I think is usually Matt Target. City and United lead with the most big chances created. Surprisingly though, Aston Villa are 3rd and Newcastle United are 4th. 2 teams that you don't really put with their prowess up front. But notably, Villa have had the most set plays with 22 set play attempts. Now that's more than double second place Newcastle United. Well, it is double. It's 11 for Newcastle. So both teams are creating the most big chances from set pieces, which I don't know if you want to lead much into that, but Sheffield United and other teams often concede a lot of chances from set pieces, so when those sort of combine, that might be an option there. So a quick review of my team. Now this has been done before the fixtures on Thursday, but I'm currently on 70 points, but I am bench boosting, so it is extremely disappointing, but again, so close. But we'll just have a quick look through my team. So I've still got a bunch of players left to play. I've got 3 left to play, 2 of them being goalkeepers. So Pope is going to play against Watford. You've got Robertson there with 9 points, TAA with 14, Doherty with 6. An absolute storming run at the back. And if we just have a quick look at my defence here, Holgate got me 7 as well, and Lascelles got me 1. I was 7 minutes away from that Newcastle clean sheet. And that would have really made this bench boost a good one. And then Alex Saint-Maximin as well, only getting me 2. So I've got McCarthy against Arsenal. Not big for chances at the moment, Arsenal, with the shots that they're having, but you've always got that threat of the likes of Aubameyang. But defensively, my team they've had a stormer. Barnes, well, I think some of us who are on the Twitter, in the community on Twitter, will know that there is a certain account on there that I'm not going to name that we thought could be a possibly good early Team News leaker, and they did tell us that Barnes was going to play. And it did me. To be honest, I thought it was something I could rely on, and it wasn't. So that's what leaned me towards smacking the bench boost and starting Barnes, because I thought that was the case, and it wasn't. When he came on, he looked lively, but as you can see, he only got my 1 point. Salah doing well. Bruno, when you see Manchester United scoring 3 goals, you would assume he'd have something to do with it. He did have a goal rolled out from a Maguire header for a bit of push and shove in the box, but again, that's unlucky. We've still got KDB left to play, who can do absolute bits against anyone. And up front, Diogo Jota. The problem with him, he's so hit or miss. He'll get you 2 points, or he'll get you 12 or 15 points. Unfortunately, he's not banging at the minute. But Raul Jimenez, again, clean sweeping, getting the goal, getting the bonus points. What a lovely man this has been for the last 2 years. And then Dominic Calvert-Lewin, again, it's another blank, but he's really, really, in my opinion, been unfortunate. I'm quite lucky because of where I live and the subscription that I can get. I can watch all the games, and I'm so surprised he's not even scored 1 in the last couple. Very unlucky. I still think he's worth his price point. Why did I bench boost? This might have surprised a few people, but I had a look, and I had a defence against Norwich and a defence and a midfield against Aston Villa. And when I'm looking at my future players and my potential transfers in and out, you just don't often, and that is a fair bench boost in the terms of, I haven't put Trent Alexander-Arnold, Salah and Jimenez on my bench and said this is a successful bench boost. This is a realistic bench boost of these guys will sit on my bench like all year, right? Or for the rest of the season. And they were playing Norwich and Aston Villa, so even though it's not exactly worked out, I still stand by this decision. It's just unfortunately that it didn't pay off. So in terms of general fixtures across the board, so you can see the Thursday evening, or for me, Friday early morning fixtures have not been completed, but we can still look back at what has happened so far. Leicester and Vardy not looking particularly interesting right now with on the goal front. Brighton as well. Both teams contain assets that I'm not currently looking to invest in. Spurs, a lot of talk going across the likes of Heung-min Son, maybe even cheaper options of Moura and Bergwijn, but for me they rotate a bit too much. I wouldn't be going towards Dele Alli. I think there are better options, either slightly higher or slightly lower than Dele Alli, but we'll be definitely looking at Aurier. His heat map basically had him in the opposition half. Lots of crosses, lots of potential there. And for his price and for the fixtures that Spurs have, I do think he is a viable option. But always be wary that player has the ability to just self-implode. He'll score an own goal, he'll get a red card, he'll do something silly, and that'll be it. But for the price that he is, it's probably going to be worth it, especially those of you who are jumping off those Sheffield United assets. I think that's the only really way, the direction that you can go towards, and I think it's a great option. West Ham, again, that's an avoid for me. All those teams at the bottom, it's like who can screw up the least will not get relegated. So I think Norwich are done, but you've got Villa, Bournemouth, West Ham, these teams down there that are just sort of, it's that hot potato, relegation hot potato. They're just passing it along until someone finally holds on to it and doesn't get relegated. Manchester United against Sheffield United. Manchester United look dominant. I said this on the stream. On paper now, their team is great. Like, I don't think having Wan-Bissaka as a fullback, like Harry Maguire, Lindelof, and Shaw as a backline is a good backline. David De Gea, I know he's had his critics recently, but he is a good goalkeeper. A midfield that consists of a holding player being either Fred or McTominay or Matic, and then just in front having a Pogba box-to-box and a Bruno Fernandes as the creative hook. That is a class midfield. I think that is genuinely a top 4, top 5 midfield there. And then up front, Martial and Rashford with occasional appearances from the likes of Greenwood and James. Arguably, that's maybe the weakest part, but having Rashford and Martial as a strike force, honestly, with the fixtures that they've got and the prices that they are right now, definitely. I'm not saying, I'll talk about that later for the incoming, but tripling up, maybe not, but doubling up certainly. Sheffield United look completely lost since the restart. Let's not forget, though, they did have a red card for Egan, who didn't play. They didn't play Henderson because he was tied because he was a Manchester United player. So I'm not reading too much into it, but I was always jumping off Sheffield United's assets following the restart because the fixtures turn, and I think there's better options out there. And I think now that the European challenge is sort of over for them, they're not going to be getting that sort of top 4, top 5 position. They might become a holiday team. And for those that don't know, a holiday team is one where they don't have anything to play for, so they just sort of mess about for the rest of the season. Newcastle Villa 1-1. Like I said, I was 7 minutes or 8 minutes away from getting a clean sheet there. It wasn't a good game. If I'm perfectly honest, it's not. I think a lot of the games on the restart haven't exactly been blockbusters. Asset-wise, I still think defensively for Newcastle, the likes of Lascelles as a bench player who might come on because a player gets rested, I think that's a good option. In terms of attacking wise from Newcastle, I know I've got Saint Maximin. He by the way, Alex Saint Maximin is a lovely player to watch. When he gets going and he does these tricks and skills, he's a lovely player. In terms of fantasy football, though, he played a little bit too deep and wide for me this time. But he's a player that I brought in for the next 3 games, because the next 3 games Newcastle have got, I believe, they've got Bournemouth. And let me just check who are the next. And West Ham, I think. Yeah, Bournemouth and West Ham are the next 2. So I thought, why not? He's worth a punt, and he was in half-decent form. Aston Villa, Grealish was the only ever option there for us. People might have the likes of Target as a backup defender. But if we talk about Grealish, the last few games, he's like playing central defensive midfield. Despite me earlier mentioning that he'd created a bunch of chances, it does look like he's deeper, and I don't know why. And of course, they don't particularly have a clinical finisher. So again, I'd be avoiding Aston Villa here. Norwich, I think that speaks for itself. Even the likes of Pukki and Cantwell are getting benched now. Wouldn't touch them. Everton winning 1-0. Defensively looking very solid. I've been really, really impressed. Not necessarily as a fantasy football asset, but I've been very impressed with Seamus Coleman. I think he did excellent against Liverpool, keeping Mane quiet. And yeah, just extremely solid. They didn't really look in danger against Norwich, but Calvert-Lewin, unfortunately, not getting a goal. They don't create a lot of chances. Stat-wise, if you have a look at team stats, the amount of chances they create is not incredible. Even possession in the opposition half is not particularly high for Everton. They do seem to be missing that real creative link. That actually makes me lean towards Everton trying to sign someone like Jack Grealish, and having him as the centre attacking midfielder might be an option. But Everton certainly need a midfield playmaker to make them tick. The likes of Sigurdsson are easing off a little bit. Tom Davies, the young centre midfielder, hasn't quite stepped up yet. Moving on to Wolves, I think triple up is... I think they're the only... I think in the future, if you can risk City and Liverpool, you could triple up on them. But Wolves, for me, are by far and large tripling up here. I've had Diogo Jota, Raul Jimenez and Matt Doherty for a while. I've come off Diogo Jota, but I'll probably go on to someone like Traore. I mean, he's just, you can't contain him. And especially with teams getting used to or reused to playing football again after a long time off. And he's when you've got match experience and match fitness and you're fit and ready to go, he's a handful. When you're not quite as sharp as you should be or possibly want to be, he was so good. He was a thorn in Bournemouth's side all game. And the link between him and Jimenez is one of the most prolific ones in all the seasons since Premier League began. I think, if my memory serves me right, Chris Sutton and Alan Shearer are the best combination since the Premier League began. And they are, I think they're 5th currently. And of course, they've still got games left to go. The issue is obviously going to be rotation for Traore, who did miss the first one. But I think for his price as a 5th midfielder, someone definitely to look at. Liverpool cruised against Palace. It was always going to be difficult for Palace, of course, but Liverpool assets, people are worried after they win the title, are they going to rotate more? I don't think so. I don't think it's going to be a huge rotation. They're not in any cups, so literally they've just got the Premier League left, and they're going to want to keep that match fitness and form going. What are you going to do? Okay, let's say they win the league in game week 33 or 34, so there's 4 or 5 games left, right? Are they just going to say, okay, Salah, Mane, Firmino, go and have a holiday and we'll see you in like 4 months when the league starts again? No, of course. And they're going to want to play football. They've missed football for the last few months. They want to get some good form, then have a break and then start the new season ready to go. They're not going to ship them away on holiday for a few months playing Connect 4 on the beach, are they? So I don't think it's going to be something like as soon as they win the league, all assets are dropped. But I do think there will be more earlier substitutions and rotations, but I still think they'll start a lot of those games, which might make them a defensive option. So bringing in the likes of Van Dijk, Gomez, Trent, Robertson, and they'll probably get subbed in the 65th minute, 70th minute and bag a clean sheet. So that might be an option going forward there. Burnley, Watford, it's tough to talk about Burnley at the minute. I mean, they got thumped. Burnley's actually a team that I would avoid right now. Not because they got thumped by Manchester City. They're a holiday team. They've got nothing to play for. But they have huge player problems right now with contract issues. And they couldn't fill a bench. They had 2 goalkeepers on the bench against Manchester City. They had a bunch of youth players. They're looking in. I've got the goalkeeper Pope. And that's because it's not the worst thing to have. And it's, he'll probably get save points. Maybe a no clean sheet. And I don't want to use a transfer to replace a goalkeeper who's half decent. But in terms of the rest of Burnley, I would avoid them for the rest of the season. Holiday team, player disputes, would not be talking about them. Watford, again, I know a lot of people like Decore and Sarr, but personally I think there are better options out there until I start to see some more consistency. Watford's still not looking like a strong team. Southampton, you've got Danny Ings. I think a lot of us have got McCarthy as a backup or main goalkeeper if Leno was injured and you didn't want to transfer him out. But the rest of Southampton wouldn't touch Arsenal. Interesting point then about Aubameyang. So Arsenal's next few fixtures, if we have a look at Aubameyang, you can see that it's not going too well for him. He's not done anything since game week 27 against Everton, so he's blank in the last 3. But Southampton do concede goals. Norwich, of course, concede goals. So I personally think if you brought him in for the double game week and he's still there, I would probably hold him for the next 2 weeks. I think he could do something against Southampton and especially against Norwich. Now, would I bring him into the team? No way. But would I take him out? Maybe. I think most people who go off Aubameyang, there's no Aguero, they'll either go for A, Marcus Rashford, or B, Gabriel Jesus. Now, I wouldn't go for Gabriel Jesus, but I probably would go to Rashford. But if people keep saying the experienced managers or whatever will stick with Aubameyang, just remember that if you're going to take him out plus someone else, it's -4. So take that into account. I would personally at least hold him. And that would be my option there. Chelsea, I think a lot of players, it's tough to sort of nail their starting 11 right now. Is James going to come in defence? So do you go for Azpilicueta or Alonso at the back? Pulisic came on and did really well against Aston Villa and scored. Again, I think that the options out there, if you can guarantee one, then maybe. I mean, Tammy Abraham even didn't start. It was Giroud who started up front. So who are you going to pick for the attack? I'm not too sure. The Man City, I think after the Chelsea game and the Liverpool game, I will be tripling up on them. They still look wonderful. I know they're still going to rotate. Pep always rotates. What's new, right? So that's the review of this game week. So looking forward towards the next game week. And I'll actually start before we do this. We'll look at my team. So I have made my transfers. Barnes has gone out and Jota has gone out. And Martial and Connolly has come in. That's my bench, as you can imagine. They're probably always going to be my bench, to be honest. So I'm playing a 3-5-2. And my captain is going to be Matt Doherty. And I'll talk about that just a little bit later when I actually suggest him as probably the best pick of the week. So this is what my team's looking at. Unfortunately, yes, it's Manchester City against Liverpool, but a lot of us are going to have this problem. But I had to bring Martial in. I was always going to get 2 Manchester United players, but he's keeping hold of his place and he scores a hat-trick. He's a midfielder. He plays striker, so he's out of position and he's 8 million, but he's definitely going to go up. 0.1 or 0.2, I think, over the next couple of days. So if you're going to make a move, you're probably going to have to do it quickly. Of course, we've only got 2 days anyway till the deadline closes. So there you have it. This is going to be my team going forward. And I'll also mention a future plan because Alex Saint-Maximin was always going to be a 3-week punt. He's got Bournemouth and West Ham in the next few, so he'll be the one to make way in a few game weeks. So I'll probably save up a transfer or two over the next couple of weeks. So having a look at the teams and the players. So I'll talk about now the players that I'm suggesting for the up and coming game week. And that is going to be players for this week. Matt Doherty is my captain. He's my choice. So 6 points, 6 points, 10 points, 12 points, 6 points, 12 points, 6 points. That is form. That is top class form. So he's already got that going for him. But also Villa chances allowed down that left side, like I said earlier, plus the lack of a Villa goal threat just makes him a genuinely viable captaincy option, especially with big boys Liverpool and Manchester City against each other. Raul Jimenez is also a top option here, with the Mexican marksman scoring 2 goals in the last 2 games, also picking up 5 points in those last 2 games in bonus. My other option going in here would be Manchester United options or Manchester United assets. So as a Bruno Fernandes captainer here for game week 31, it was hard seeing Manchester United score 3 goals without him being in the points. But as a whole, United are looking a lot better. Perhaps tripling up for me is a little bit too much because United are infamously inconsistent at times. But certainly 2 from Manchester United seem a smart choice with Fernandes, Martial, Rashford, Pogba, Wan-Bissaka and Maguire being the top assets to choose from there. You could risk Greenwood as a cheap bench option if you want to try and rotate him in, but minutes will always be on your mind there. Now, a future option for me, something that I'm going to be going for, is Phil Foden. Now, he will come in as my 5th midfielder on for Alex Saint-Maximin in a couple of weeks following the Chelsea and Liverpool games. And I'll take that punt on him from game week 33 plus. A huge 16 points against Burnley. He's constantly praised by Pep Guardiola. And I imagine by game week 33, maybe 34, Liverpool will have wrapped up the title and Pep can therefore finally fulfill that promise to Foden of more game time. City's end of season run is a sea of green on the fixture ticker, and with him earmarked as the future successor for outgoing loyal servant David Silva, I'd be surprised if we don't see more game time coming for the Stockport Messi. So fixtures to target here for me: Wolves assets against Aston Villa. Maybe Danny Ings against a Watford defence, which hasn't been great this season. He's still, I think, is he 7.5? I just want to be clear on his price. 7.2. He's cheaper than I envisaged. So still as that second or third option there, I still think Danny Ings, difficult up and down fixtures for Southampton, but he's proven that he is a fixture buster this season. Crystal Palace Burnley has 0-0 written all over it. So if you want to bring in maybe PVA, or if you've got Pope, or a cheaper one, something like Gary Cahill, then you might get a clean sheet there. But that is not screaming goals anytime soon. Watch it now be a 3-3. That'll just sum up my season. Brighton, Manchester United again. Manchester United looking incredibly strong. I'd be doubling up at least here. I am doubling up with Bruno and Martial. Arsenal, Norwich. Both concede a ton of chances. Both don't create a ton of chances. So I don't know, is this going to be, an unstoppable force against an immovable object, or is this going to be Arsenal finally turning the corner and doing something? This could be one where Arsenal can turn the corner, up the gears a little bit. I mean, if they don't thump Norwich at home, there really is no hope for them. Another option here, of course, people have been talking about Saka, 4.7 midfield, plays sort of left wing back but gets pushed up when there's a player to come in for that position. For me, as a 5th option, a 5th midfielder, I wouldn't be starting him, but sitting on your bench at about 4.7 million, I think is a very, very good option and a lot better than the former cheap good option of Todd Cantwell, who he will be playing against. Bournemouth, Newcastle, again, not a game that's probably going to be littered with goals, probably a low-scoring one, but Bournemouth are in a huge slump right now. Loss after loss after loss. I think it was Adam Smith that said this is the toughest part of his career he's ever faced right now, and he says it's a lot of the boys have said the same. They are in a downward spiral. It's a shame because they came up and they tried to play good football under Eddie Howe, but if they don't pick up 3 points here, they are really in a lot of trouble. Everton, Leicester, again, two sort of holiday teams going on here, so it's difficult to sort of predict. But Leicester and Vardy and the likes up front are not looking like scoring a lot of goals. Neither are Everton, so similar to Palace Burnley, this might be a low scoring or in fact a 0-0 here. So the likes of Holgate on your bench, maybe if you've got Chilwell or Sionchu in your side, it might be a good option there. West Ham, Chelsea. Another poor defence in terms of West Ham, but the problem with Chelsea is you don't know what front line they're going to start. They're going to start Tammy, they're going to start Giroud, they're going to start Pulisic, Willian, Pedro. Who's going to be playing, we don't know, and I don't like that as a fantasy football manager. So if I could nail someone on there, then I probably would have a Chelsea player in, but unfortunately without that knowledge it's tough to say. Sheffield United, another team in a downward spiral against Spurs, who have a good fixture on the end of the season. Again, Sheffield United not a big goal scoring side, so if you are going to bring Aurier in as a fullback, then that might be a good time to do so. And Heung-min Son against that defence might be good as well. But maybe it's just a small blip. Sheffield United, especially a manager like Chris Wilder, will not let this slump slide, right? He's going to definitely be cracking the whip before their next game. So I imagine a much better team to come out here. And of course, Spurs sometimes can't break down opposition. Sometimes with sort of the Mourinho tactics, it doesn't work quite well. I personally am not really looking towards Spurs, only Aurier. I think Son, and especially Harry Kane, even though he scored, he looked knackered when he finished that goal. He just celebrated by lying on the floor. I just think they're too expensive for what you're getting. You could get Wolves assets. You can get Manchester United assets. You could even got, Chelsea assets, all for a lot cheaper than Spurs, who are inconsistent. So I'm not saying they're overrated. I think they're overpriced, except for Aurier. So he would be my option there. And then finally, City and Liverpool. Tough to say. These are the two best teams in the league. How can you separate them? Liverpool are winning the league right now, but in terms of players, you just go with them. They are the best players. The likes of, De Bruyne, Sterling, Salah, Mane, Trent, Robertson. I'll still be playing them. I'm not going to rest. I'm not going to play Holgate instead of Trent Alexander-Arnold, right? Or Lascelles over Robertson at the back. I'm just not. So that's going to be it for this week. Please let me know who your captaincy options are for this week. Who are your hidden gems or your future transfers? Who are you earmarking and scouting now for possible future fixtures in the future? Hopefully you enjoyed this video. Please let me know in the comments below. Leave a like and subscribe if you are new to the channel. Hopefully this is going well again. That would be lovely if it is. So thanks a lot for watching. I'll catch you on a stream on Friday between 12 and 1 o'clock in the afternoon UK time. Thanks for watching, and as always, have a good one.